Hi everyone, and welcome to the Unit 3, Section 3 guided notes on functions. Today we're going to evaluate functions. We're going to talk about what makes something a function, and we're going to investigate functions using the vertical line test. So here we go. A function is a graph in which each number in the domain is different. In other words, I cannot have any repeating x values. We'll look at the visual or the pictorial reason, the graphing reason for why that is in a moment. So each of these below, just listed numerically, is a function. Identify if each of these is a function. Explain your answer. I'm doing a quick check of all of the x values to make sure, that none of them repeat. Yes, this A is a function because there are no repeating x values. Now in B, I have 2, -3, 2, -1. Uh-oh, problem here because 2 repeats. This is not a function. X equals 2 repeats. That's a simple enough answer. The value x equals 2 is seen more than once. Okay, so now we can think about this graphically. What this means is that a function, a relation will be a function if it passes a vertical line test. Think to yourself, a vertical line test is if I were to draw an imaginary line anywhere through this graph, would it only touch once? If it crosses more than once, it is not a function. So, in the second example, yeah, sure, I can draw it here. It's a function. I can't here, though, because it passes at every single one of those points along that vertical spot. And here I can. So it has to, a relation has to pass a vertical line test at every point along its domain, not just at certain points or at one point. So this is a yes. This one is a no. It's not a function. In the next example, yes, in fact, it is a function. I can draw a vertical line anywhere through that, and it will pass. It will only touch once. In the fourth one, this is not a function because everywhere I draw, almost everywhere I draw a vertical line through this function, through this relation, it is not a function. It does not pass the vertical line test. A vertical line crosses more than once. All right, I can think about a function in terms of being able to do things and tell me things. I can think about a function as a machine where I'm going to input some values and then I'm going to get some output, right? So x's are my inputs and y values are my outputs. So if I always have a rule for my function, and then I'll always have an input, and then I'll have an output. So if I plug 2 into this function, what that means is plug 2 in for x, and what I get is 2 times 2 plus 4. That's 4 plus 4 is 8. Right? And what I get out depends on what I put in. So if I were to plug in a -1 in our fourth example, what I would end up with is 2 times -1, that's -2 plus 4. Whoopsies, that doesn't equal 8, sorry. What I would end up with is -2 plus 4, and that would be 2. I have to remember here, order of operations, right? I've got to do whatever's inside parentheses first, any exponents. In this case, it's the multiplication first, and then the addition. Okay, moving on now, we're going to evaluate functions. We've got a specific notation for how to do this. Function notation is written like this, is f of x. F of x, remember, is just going to be the output, and x is the input. So when you see a notation like f of 1, and that's read f of 1, what you're going to do is plug 1 in for x. This means plug 1 into the machine and tell me what you get out. So f of 1 is going to equal 2 times 1 plus 3. F of 1 is going to equal 5. So a couple of things to know here. This is function notation, as I said. Variable x is replaced with a specific number in the domain. F is not a variable, and we don't want to solve for x. F of x is just a fancy way of saying y equals something. So that's what we did here, where I showed you that when it says f of -3, all I want you to do is plug negative 3 into the function where you see x. It replaces the variable. Negative 6. I don't know why I keep doing that and copying down the answer from before. Negative 2 times, 2 times negative 3 is negative 6 plus 3. That gives us an answer of negative 3. All right, little bonus question for you to think about. What operation am I doing here? What algebraic property, rather, is being used? We'll talk about that in class. See if you can come up with the big vocabulary word that we've been talking about. All right, I have a couple of examples here that I would like you to work through in your notes, and we can check our answers together in class. So my closing question is, what is the purpose of using the vertical line test? Are all relations considered functions, or are all functions considered relations? We'll talk about that. And given this function, I'd like you to find f of negative 6. Okay, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. A reminder that your homework is this worksheet that's attached in the packet, worksheet 3.3, all about functions.